explain that, Mr. Chair.
Therefore, Mr. Chair, if he is not a black timer, a producer, and not paying it, therefore it is the SMNI that's anchoring it.
Mr. Chair, can I explain, Mr. Chair?
Right. So your statement is it is station produced. It is station produced, ergo it is SMNI.
Actually, Mr. Chair, it's not station produced, it is co-produced.
How can it be co-produced? Lahat po ang sagot nyo. May nagpapasweldo.
Co-produced between whom? Sino yung parties involved dun sa production?
The SMNI and the co-host, the host are also considered as producers as
So
well.
silang dalawa, yung dalawang entity.
Yes.
But yung dalawang entity na yun, si Dr. Badoy at saka si Celis, ay parehas na na binabayarang talent ng SMNI.
Yes, talent, Mr. Chair, but not employees.
Correct.
Mr. Chair,
So,
Mr. Chair, may I be allowed to clarify something?
so saan po pumapasok ang co-production? Kung sagot yung airtime,
Oh, Mr.
sagot yung sweldo, sagot yung camera, sagot yung ilaw, sagot yung kuryente, saan po pumapasok ang co-production?
We can submit, Mr. Chair, the co-production agreement between
No, I'm
SMNI.
asking you a question now. You know everything about television. You were a producer.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And we were a black timer of Channel 9.
Yeah, yes.
Co-production is either you pay airtime or you share on the revenue, libre ang talent, libre, ang camera, sayo, ang ilaw, sayo, ang pagkain ng mga guests mo, sayo. Ito, lahat sagot nyo, pero tawag nyo co-production.
Co-production, Mr. Chair, the SMNI give them talent fee, 100,000 each. And second, Mr. Chair, with respect to the income of the revenue of the program, 25% goes to Mr. Celis, 25% goes to Dr. Badoy,
And
and the 50% goes to SMNI.
So
And-
you're saying there's revenue entering SMNI on the show?
yes, on the video.
Revenues.
Yes. So you're saying may pera pumapasok? Paano pumapasok yung pera sa show?
Advertisement, Mr. Chair, if there is.
So may mga advertisers, may mga ads na lumalabas.
There are minimal, there are few, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
who are these companies that are advertising in your show?
We will submit that, Mr. Chair.
No, no.
I cannot memorize
I
all
mean, the
the-
host is here. The host is here. Just tell me who. So in your show, who's that?
You are,
Mr. Chair.
you're under oath.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So tell me who are advertising in your show?
Honestly, I don't remember the names. There's a
Okay,
gasoline
look,
station.
Mr. Chair, just to put it in perspective,
It's a
you've been
station,
doing the
Mr. Chair.
show for 3 years.
Good evening guys, inabot na ng
Friday,
gabi yung
1
hearing.
hour and a half every day. Ang
Like and share, mga
sabi
kababayan.
Merong advertisers, kumikita. 25%, 25%, 50% sa SMNI. Simple lang yung tanong ko. Hindi nyo pwede hindi alam kasi kayo nag-host eh. Pwede ba naman yun?
Mr. Chair, can I respond?
Yes.
Okay, so,
Ayan, palike and share mga kababayan.
honest answer here is yung, because we're so, this work, as you can imagine, is very intense.
Mr.
diba?
Chair,
So,
Mr.
what
Chair,
we do
just a moment.
is,
Mr. Chair, may I
Yes.
interject? So you're being honest now. Kanina hindi ka honest.
no, can I also respond to that?
Yes.
No.
Respond to
Mr.
that.
Chair, I just have, it was a question similar to Mr. Celis kanina. I just need a name. I asked for the source, ayaw nyo ibigay. Ngayon, ito simple lang. Sino yung mga nag-advertise sa show ninyo?
Okay, there's, Mr. Chair, there's E-Fuel.
Pangalan.
Mr. Chairman,
Ano
Mr.
pangalan
Chair,
mo? Ano
kasi sa
pangalan?
totoo lang, ang konti talaga ng sponsors dyan. Because the anti-CPP work is not sexy, nobody wants to
Like and
touch
share,
it.
mga
Nasa konti
kababayan.
lang talaga dyan, Mr. Chair.
Nadadami din.
Para maayos mo po tayo.
Teka lang. Yes.
Honorable JJ.
Hindi, I'm still at my point, Mr. Chair, doon sa binanggit ni Attorney Tolentino. So please, enumerate.
per my information, Mr. Chair, of the stock of...
Attorney Tolentino, I think the question is directed to Dr. Bato.
Mr. Chair, ang pagkakaalala ko, e-fuel, and then there's this food cart. Because honestly, ang toka namin sa show na ito is the creative license, everything, that's the concept, what goes into it, the content. So we're consumed by that. So I honestly don't really look at the sponsors too much. I just don't.
Yes, I beg to the chairman, then I'll go
Yes.
back, Mr. Chair.
Alam po ninyo, tanong ko lang po di ba meron po kayong porsyento dito sa revenue sharing? Tama?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Hindi ba kung kayo ay may revenue, dapat alam nyo kung saan ang source ng revenue? Alam nyo kung sino ang mga sponsor ninyo? Para alam nyo na tama yung 25% na makukuha nyo as stated by the Attorney Tolentino.
May I answer, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Yes or no muna?
Could you repeat it
Hindi
again?
ba dapat alam nyo kung sino ang mga sponsors nyo? Dahil may porsyento po kayo, may revenue sharing kayo as manifested by the Attorney Tolentino. Na may 25% ka, may 25% si Ka Eric. Hindi ba responsibilidad nyo na sino ang mga sponsor na to?
Mr. Chair, I honestly don't care about the money. That's the truth. Gusto ko lang tapusin ito. Pwede ko bang mag-respond kung sa sinabi ni
Ano po tatapusin mo ninyo?
yung CPP at PANDF, sir? Chair, Mr. Chair.
po dito yung revenue stream.
Yun nga, Chair, Mr. Chair.
Alam po nyo, hindi po natin pwedeng kasi that's where Congressman JJ is coming from. You have a share. Ergo, you should know who your sponsors are. So you cannot hide on another issue. Huwag mo natin pag-usapan. Napag-usapan na po yung kanina. Ngayon, it's either walang sponsor or
Mr. Chairman, may I...
Mr. Chair.
kasi
Mr. Chair, may I
or
clarify?
meron
Kasi
po
I
kayong
think this,
pagkatalo. Because tinatanong ko si Congressman Benny. Ikaw, Congressman Benny, di ba meron kang radio station? Alam mo mga sponsor mo. Di ba? Kasi kung konti lang kayo, sabi nyo, konti lang sila. Eh di mas madali tandaan mo konti kaysa marami.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Okay, so, honestly, didn't know that you were gonna ask, so hindi pumasok sa isip ko kaagad. But now thinking about it, listening to you, it's e-fuel and some food carts, I don't remember the names, and Galileo water, something like
Palike and
that.
share mga kababayan.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
takong produkto. Meron pa po? Nalala nyo?
Paiba-iba, minsan nga wala, minsan meron, minsan gano'n.
Hindi niyo po binabanggit sa show niyan. Thank you
Okay
to
lang.
the sponsor. Thank you to the sponsor.
Tingnan talaga
Hindi
sa
binabanggit
umpisa.
yan.
No, Mr. Chair, we don't.
Wala kayong
Kaya
pakita
nga,
na
hindi ko nga
ganyan.
siya alam, Mr. Chair.
Salamat.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, kasi ito po sa...
JJ has a purpose. Ito po, Ponggan.
So, Attorney Tolentino, sabi niyo may income sharing kayo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, do you also concur with the statements of Dr. Badoy na ito yung mga kumpanyang nagsiserve as advertisers doon sa programa?
Based on my information, Mr. Chair, with the SMNI team, the show has no advertisers. But in case there's advertisers, Mr. Chair, that is the share. 50% SMNI,
No.
25%.
Okay, wait. Para lang. You're saying na walang advertisers?
As of today, Mr. Chair, none, Mr. Chair.
Ano yung sinabi ni Attorney Badoy na e-fuel,
Mr.
food
Chairman,
cart, Galileo water, ano yun?
It is an advertisers, not of laban kasama ng bayan, but it is an advertiser of a program prior to that program.
Mr. Chair,
No,
I think these
okay,
people
wait,
are
Mr.
lying.
Chair,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
I
Chair.
think these people are lying. Why?
Here we are
Mr.
again,
Chairman, I think these
being
people...
confused with information and hiding of the truth. Kanina may nakontent na tayo na isa, tapos nandito na naman tayo eh.
Alam nyo,
Mr. Chair,
Naku, mukhang may makukontempt na naman mga kababayan.
Mas dito, na yung pong revenue nyo, nanggaling lamang po sa mga radio station nyo. Walang lumalabas sa revenue na nagagaling po doon sa show ninyo. And I think you are lying dahil dito po, naka-breakdown po ang revenue. Pitong istasyon ang kumita ng 105 million ng 2022. Kumita ng 2021 ng 41.8. Kanina sabi ni attorney, wala daw advertisement and promotion. Dito sa advertising and promotion nyo, 12 million ang ginasot nyo ng 2022. At noong 2021, pinload nyo nga 810,000 lamang. Tapos ang 2022 is 12 million. In other words, Mr. Chairman, clearly, nagsisinungaling kayo, Ma'am Badoy. Dahil sinasabi nyo, kumikita kayo sa pagiging co-producer, pero hindi nakalista po sa breakdown ng inyong mga revenue. So how can you explain that the one that you have submitted in this committee, hindi kasama yung revenue ninyo bilang producer? How can you explain that?
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes,
Mr. Chair, can I just put this on the record? We've already cited an individual in contempt earlier for failing to provide the information that the committee requires. To SMNI right now, again, very, very, very thin ice. Both of you magkatabi kayo. Sinabi mo, abogado mo to. Kayo magkatabi, hindi pa kayo magkasundo kung ano ba talaga yung totoo. Sabi mo, may tatlong nag-advertise. Sabi ng katabi mo, wala. Paano namin kayo paniniwalaan? Magkatabi na nga kayo. Tapos sinabi pa ni Congressman Dan Fernandez dito.
Report to please refrain from lying kasi we will be citing you for contempt. Kasi nakalagay po sa revenue, submitted nyo, 4 na taon kayo nagsasabit dito. Ito, this will not lie. I can give you this. Dahil revenue na sinasabi nyo po, na andito lahat, breakdown. From income tax, from yung pong mga losses, saka yung pong tinatawag ng mga expenses, and the revenues. So, wala akong nakakita yung binabanggit ko kanina na meron kayong dinita, na dinitera nyo hindi yun. In other words, you are lying. And if you are lying in this committee,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Honorable, thank you very much, Honorable Dan Fernandez. So, the Honorable Kenny.
Mr. Chair, may I
I
respond?
move to declare Madam Badoy in contempt.
Ako.
I second.
There's a motion. Duly seconded by the Honorable Ako. On the motion of the Honorable Kenny Aban.
Contempt.
Pwede po ba magsalita, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
There's a second. The chair hearing
Pati si Miss Badoy, mga kababayan, na contempt na din.
May we know from the Honorable Abante to be, let us be specific on the specific ground that you are going to cite them in contempt.
Section 11, HE, and Section 11, contempt, refusal to answer in a relevant inquiry. Acting in a disrespectful manner because she was found lying, Mr. Chair. That would be my reason to declare, to make a motion to declare her in contempt.
Mr. Chair, can I respond?
Can I just finish this motion? Then I will ask you to respond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Because there's a pending motion on the floor, okay? There's a motion by the Honorable Lady Abante, seconded by the Honorable Ako. The chair in objection, the motion is approved. The motion, the second motion.
Ako.
Okay. Motion. You will.
Mr. Chairman. I know. Mr. Chairman, I may respectfully move that we will detain Madam Badoy until the committee report of this investigation will be adopted in the plenary. Mr. Chairman, so moved.
There's a motion to be seconded. Who seconded the motion of the Honorable Ako? The chair, no objection. The motion to detain is hereby approved. Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, like I told you earlier, this was the place where I grew up in. Dito ako naglaro. When my father was in Congress. And I'm deeply saddened by what I've seen today. No, but I respect the committee because this is how I was brought up by my father, to be honorable. And to have my fullest trust pa rin in the institution, hindi natitinag yan, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. May tanong na po ko.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
He was part of which Congress? What's the name of your father?
Anacleto Badoy, Jr.
In what Congress was he part of?
I don't know, Mr. Chair. That was in the 70s, late 70s and early 80s.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
May I please?
just a follow-up lang. Ito naman, please pakiusap lang, just for once. Can we at least hang on to the truth? You know, it's been so difficult throughout the whole afternoon together. You know, you have documents that are conflicting, statements that are incongruent. Attorney Mark Tolentino, can you please submit to the committee copies of your advertising contracts?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
All the programs, Mr. Chair, or only the laban kasama ang bayan.
Mr. Chair, hindi pa ako tapos. May I please speak, Mr. Chair?
And revenue sharing with your co-producers.
May I know, Mr. Chair, if it's only limited to laban kasama ang bayan or all the programs, Mr.
All
Chair?
of it.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to add also that the lawyer would submit to us the process on how you discipline the anchors and the hosts that you have.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Can we give us, please give us, Mr. Chair, one minute to share all
And
the
other than
documents?
that, Mr. Chair, in connection dun sa
Dito,
request
sa
ko,
Congress.
maybe also subpoena yung disciplinary
Palikin siya, mga kababayan mo, ang
actions na ginawa ninyo, investigations. Di ba, meron silang ginagawang investigations internal.
Yes, Mr.
Kasi
Chair.
lang hindi nyo masabi kung ilan na yung napatawan nyo ng disciplinary actions at kung anong penalty ang in-impose sa kanila. Pwede yung buwan, bigyan din kami ng kopya nun.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Sir, we're asking Mr. Chair 1 week, Mr. Chair, to supply all those documents.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, to establish some pertinent evidence, Mr. Chair, I just would like to make a manifestation here that because Madam Badoy has admitted that she is not a black timer and that she is not paying any dues to the SMI, therefore, she is part of the company, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Penny Pante. So may I direct the Sergeant of Arms to please implement to take custody of Miss Badoy
Shoutout sa
as
Ma'am Moises
by,
Barreto.
this committee.
May
Thank you.
I finish my statement, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Meron pong Rumi na quote, yung poet na Rumi. Wherever you stand, be the soul of that place. And I'm really sad that this has happened to our Congress. I didn't see this when my father was growing up. This was the place where we could stand on our shared ground of love for country, and what I witnessed right now was a travesty.
Thank
And
you
I'm
very
very
much.
sad for my country.
Mr.
The
Chair,
Honorable Ako.
I'm sorry for what happened to you, Madam Badoy. But you do not have a monopoly of love of country. I've spent my life fighting for this country. Oh, so you do not have to tell me that. Mas marami akong sinugal kaysa sa'yo. So do not give me that crap, Madam Badoy.
Thank you very much.
Kasi I have laid down my life
Okay.
very often just to protect this country. And if ever I'm going to be called again, I'll do it. Not the way you want it. but the way it is authorized by the government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, also I would like to make a manifestation that I do not know how old were you, Madam Badoy, when I was fighting the NPAs. 1986. This government almost lost to the NPAs. I was there fighting the NPAs. I do not know where were you at that time. So please, do not make a monopoly of the love of country. All of the congressmen here love our country. That's why we're here. We're not just politicians. We are people that love our own nation. That's why we're serving our nation. So please, do not make that statement. To me, it is still alive, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
Sergeant of Arms, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ray. So
Mr. Chair.
now, we have, you will have to put her in the same place
Ano na?
where
Dinampot na rin po si Miss Badoy, mga kababayan.
I mean, in the same
Dalawang angkor ng
area,
SMNI
in the
na
premises
content.
of the House of Representatives. That's what I meant. Okay. So now, we have the Honorable...
Meron po na doon, sir.
no, there are other speakers.
I'm sorry. I thought we're done. I don't know Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
The Honorable...
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Congressman Dan, where is he going? Because I thought Super is no longer here.
Okay, let's proceed. Okay, Mr. Chair. The Honorable Kimbo, then the Honorable Gutierrez.
Mr. Chair, my co-counsel, Mr. Chair, Attorney Rolando Suplico is the clinic.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, so we take note of that. So we hope you will feel better in a bit. Yes. The Congressman Kimbo, Honorable Gutierrez.
Yes, Mr. Chair, siguro tatanong na po ako bago sila maubos.
Ayun, Mr. Chair. Last man standing.
Well, actually, this is really a question on behalf of Kong Joboy. Nainit na po siya, pero pinagbiling niya talaga sa akin ng mabuti na talagang kailangan ko daw itong titanong. Okay, so anyway, kanina po, kung naalala po natin, paulit-ulit po in defense of yung buong alleged violation doon po sa Section 11 on the dispersal of ownership, doon po sa failure to comply with a 30% offer, public offer of their outstanding shares. Lagi pong ini-invoke as a defense yung failure daw ng Congress na sagutin ang kanilang
Palike
sulat
and share po,
dated
mga
June
kababayan.
30,
Palike and share
2022.
po.
So, ang pinapatanong po ni Kong Joboy Aquino, simple lamang po. Nung sa inyong pananaw, nagsulat kayo sa Kongreso, June 30, 2022. Ngayon po ay December 5. Hindi pa kayo sinasagot sa inyong pananaw. Anong ginawa nyo? Kayo ba'y nag-follow up? Nagsulat ulit? Anong ginawa nyo?
For your information, Mr. Chair, we are waiting. But still, Mr.
So waiting
Chair,
pa rin.
because we believe, Mr. Chair, that there is no timeline for that, Mr. Chair. But that's why I'd like to ask for an apology for that, Mr. Chair, and give us time to comply all the requirements. If we may, Mr. Chair.
So maliwanag, Mr. Chair, na walang ginawa ang SMNI doon po sa sinasabi po nilang hindi pagsagot ng Kongreso. At nandun na rin po tayo dun sa sulat na yan, June 30, 2022. And Mr. Chair, medyo na-disturb po ako dito sa sulat na to because they made it clear. One of their statements in this letter has to do with the purpose of the company. Ang sabi po nila, Mr. Chair, that these are the main priorities of the company. Number one, to serve and to continue to serve the Filipino people.
bringing only balanced and fair news through objective and candid reporting in a mix of news and public affairs programs to enrich the discussion for social inclusiveness among the citizenry. Number 2, to reach and preach for the goodwill of all and the propagation of faith, as well as religiosity and faith to deepen the faithful's relationship with our Creator. So yun po ang sinasabi po nila, dalawang layunin po ng kumpanya. And therefore, ang sabi po nila, the main goals of the company are not profit-driven. Nililiwanag po nila, hindi po sila profit-driven. So ito po ang aking simpleng tanong. So, we confirm that.
Yes, Mr. Chair. But the one who wrote that letter is
So,
not me.
no, simpleng tanong lang. You confirm that. Not
Yes, Mr.
profit-driven. So ito lang ang aking simpleng tanong. Bakit po kayo nag-apply para sa isang commercial franchise? Dito po sa section 1 ng inyong prangkisa, nakasulat po, nature and scope of franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain for commercial purposes. Klaro po. It's for purposes of making profit. Bakit? Meron kasi tayong another category of franchises, non-commercial. Meron po tayong distinct category na ina-applyan po tulad ng mga state universities and colleges na talagang hindi naman po profit-driven at yun po ang ina-applyan nila kapag hindi po for profit ang kanilang operations. Kaya, yan ang aking tanong. Hindi po kaya, baka naman po mali ang inyong ina-applyan ng prangkisa?
Mr. Chair, the best person to answer that, Mr. Chair, is the president of the company. So,
Ito po ang legal counsel.
yes, Mr. Chair.
Alam niyo po, ang isasagot sa akin ng presidente, hindi po ako abogado. Kaya, ikaw na lang po ay, ang ending po, kayo din naman po.
The last man standing here, so I'll try to answer it, Mr. Chair. Based on my personal knowledge, Mr. Chair. Yes, it is not, the SMNI is not a focus on profit, Mr. Chair. So that is my knowledge and information about SMNI. That's why if you check, you compare that to the other company, other broadcast company, there are a lot of advertisers in that company. Unlike in SMNI, if there's only 1 or 2 per program, Mr. Chair, and very minimal payment, compare that to the other broadcast establishments, Mr. Chair, or TV or radio establishments.
So again, it doesn't really explain. You're explaining that you're not for profit. But then, bakit na commercial franchise ang in-applyan nyo? And what is your take on, baka nga mali yung prangkisa? Di ba?
Hindi nyo ba later on pinag-amekdahan?
That's why, Mr. Chair, with respect to the profits, the income, and the financial statement of the company, may I request, Mr. Chair, for our next meeting, Mr. Chair, we will bring with me the external auditor and the internal auditor of the company, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Chair, follow-up question. Kung hindi kayo profit-oriented, paano ipapaliwanag itong 105 billion peso revenues in 2022, may interest income na 35 million.
That time, Mr. Chair, during election season, Mr. Chair. That's why I believe that their income of the company in 2022 during election season.
So again, hindi po magparehan maliwanag doon kasi sinasabi ninyo, doon sa liham ninyo. Kasi yung participating in partisan activities, kung sinasabi ninyong election, ano po ba
It's
yun?
not partisan, Mr. Chair, but the advertisers of some politicians, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sige. Pero again, parang, so, kung pwede po, Mr. Chair, baka hindi tayo matapos sa kakatanong, sa susunod na lang po na hearing, kung pwede po sana ma-invite ang inyong Chief Financial Officer para mas lalo pong mapaliwanag sa amin, and especially dito kay Albert Einstein, Dan Fernandez. Sa mga questions po tungkol po dito sa business model, kung ano ba talaga yung how you make money, kung ano po yung paliwanag po dun sa changes in income and expenses over the years, and how does it align with your stated objectives, and how is it consistent with the terms of your franchise agreement? So, kung pwede po sana, dalhin po ninyo yung inyong CFO para mapaliwanag po yun.
Yes, because she is the best person to answer all those inquiries, Mr. Chair, about the financial statement of the company.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
and then huli na lang po in relation to dun sa hiningi po ni Kong Abante. I'm sure meron po kayong manual of operations. Kasi ang hinihingi po ni Kong Abante earlier is yung paliwanag po dun sa paano ninyo dinidisiplina ang inyong mga journalists, etc.
We will put that in writing, Mr. Chair.
Yes, pero sigurado, meron pa kayong manual of operations.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so malamang dun sa manual of operations ninyo, siguro naman dyan nakapaloob ang mga journalistic standards, if any, na that you adopt. Diba? So, yun na lang po ang isubmit ninyo para maging mas maliwanag sa amin kung ano ba talaga itong grievance committee. Sino ba ang miyembro ng grievance committee na yan? Diba? So, tuwing kailan ba yan nakakonstitute, etc. So, isubmit na lang lahat yun sa amin para sa susunod na hearing.
Mr. Chair, due to the voluminous request of all those documents, can we request for at least 10 working days to prepare all those documents, Mr. Chair?
10 working days daw, Mr. Chair.
There's a, we will,
Until the next hearing.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, can we...
nai-interest, I would suggest, tayo yung isang,
Rolling na lang.
we will have to, but I don't think 10 days.
1 week, Mr. Chair, 1 week.
Mr. Chairman, we are about to adjourn next week. So can we have some adjustment to the period that was given to them?
We will have to have it before the next meeting.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Scheduled maybe
Yes.
Monday.
And-
We will ask you to please.
And Chair Gus, ito namang manual of operations, hindi niyo naman isusulat yan from scratch. For sure, meron na kayo yan.
Alam mo, parang yan ang ginagawa na ko. Hindi naman gagawin yan. Unless hindi nyo, wala kayo, o gagawin nyo pala, ito naman lahat naman yung gawa niya.
Tapos siguro, Chair Gus, kung ano yung meron na, hindi mo na isubmit, tapos word back na lang.
That's what I said.
Yun lang po.
That's what I suggested. Okay, thank you very
Yun lang
much,
po, Mr.
Honorable
Chair. Tapos na po. Thank you.
Kimbo. Then the Honorable Gutierrez is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, this House resolution today was supposed to be focused on subject matter stated as the body po, no, submissions from Franz Castro, the privileged speech of J.D. Scott. And we assumed that this would be focused mostly on Section 4, because that's the most related to the subject matter, those violations. However, as expertly put out there by our colleagues here today, nakita po natin that there are other violations, not only po sa Section 4 regarding whatever substance that SMNI has put out, but we also have questions of violations as to the corporate structure. So, I just wanted to build on that, Mr. Chair. Ideally, before everything else, hopefully we could have more officers. May I ask, Mr. Chair, the representative of SMNI, ano ba yung...
Before you ask that question, the chair lang will, I'm sorry, my apologies. The deputy speaker is here. He's been here for more than 3 hours. And I have not acknowledged him. I'd like to recognize the Honorable Don Gonzalez. Thank you. So, welcome to the committee, sir. Mali pala, hindi pala 3 hours, 4 hours. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, may we ask the representative of SMNI, the lone representative, may we know who are the officers of SWARASU?
So I have with me, Mr. Chair, for 2023 document, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, let's start with the top. Sino po yung chairman?
We have the President, Marlon Rosete, Mr. Chair. And Director, Vice President for Finance, Ludivia Ayang. Vice President for Administration, Doris Nepomuceno. Director, Hannah Jane Sancho. Corporate Secretary, Jelaine R. Ramos. Treasurer, Ananya P. Reyes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, who's the chairman? I assume my directors po kayo, so there's a chairman of the board.
There is an officer, but only director, Christina San Pedro.
Based on your EOI, one director lang po ang corporation.
We have
niyo.
two directors, Christina San Pedro and Hannah Jane Sancho.
Wala po kayong chairman of the board.
I presume that the president is also the chairman.
President and chairman. So 3-man board po kayo. That would be the chairman and 2
We have
directors.
7 officers, Mr. Chair.
No, yung sa board lang. Yung sa, how many seats do you have in your board?
The board. Board of Directors, Mr. Chair.
Board of directors.
7, Mr. Chair.
7. So all of your officers are also directors.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So this is not only executive officers niyo.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, saan po sila?
With respect, most of them are in Davao, Mr. Chair.
Most of them are in Davao. When did you find out that the president could not make it? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
We submitted already a medical certificate I think this afternoon about the health condition of the chairman. But he's more than willing to come here next,
Chairman and President.
next meeting, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, your operations are in Makati. Is that not correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Don't you have any other executive officers in Makati who could make it today?
I have to check, Mr. Chair, because per my information, all of them are in Davao. Based on my personal knowledge.
So, Mr. Chair, ang Suaraso Media Corporation operates with only the president and its 2 legal officers here in Makati. Ganun po ba yung sistema natin?
No, Mr. Chair. Only this time that they're in Davao, Mr. Chair.
Only this time they're in Davao. Coincidentally,
Yes,
yes, committee. Okay, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I bring this up because it's very disappointing po, no? Because a while ago, we've been experiencing a lot of cherry picking. There were a lot of questions that could not be answered. It was summed up very well by Congresswoman Kimbo. The president will say, I cannot answer because I'm not a lawyer. And the lawyer will say, I cannot answer because I'm not the president. So it leaves us in a limbo here today. So I hope in the next committee hearing, we have full attendance po. Actually, last hearing, ang dami po ninyo eh.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
In
Last
fact,
hearing, the president was here.
more than the president. May nagko-coach pa nga eh. Yung Sancho ba yun? She was an officer, was she not?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And asan po siya ngayon, Mr. Chair? She was so eager to join Ka Eric and Mang Padoy.
Yes.
At ngayon, wala na po, no?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Yun lang po, Mr. Chair. I hope that they could afford this committee the respect that they attend so that we can actually properly thresh all of these issues out. Kasi pag ganyan po na absent, and then we're delayed again, instead of moving on with your franchise, nababagalan pa tayo, no? So that's just a comment on that. But attendance pa lang yun, Mr. Chair.
I suggest, Mr. Chair, that
Sabi na?
not Mr. Chair, but to name all those officers that you want to be here next meeting, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, we suggest, we've already written to Smni. Why don't you bring all of your officers? Unless you want nga subpoena.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
You're good, President. Okay, kung hindi po presidente, yung presidente,
The 7 officers, Mr. Chair.
Okay, sa amin na po lang.
Mr. Chair, because some of our colleagues raised the issue of revenues and commercial corporations, I would like to possibly invite the BIR,
Yes, they are.
particularly the BIR in the round,
And AMLA.
and AMLA and HISEC, Secretary Change Commission.
SEC is here already. SEC is present.
Oh.
So we will have the presence of AMLA and BIR. Thank you very much. Okay. The Honorable Gutierrez.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So I won't belabor the point already in section 4. We've already had substantial evidence of what we view as transgressions and violations of that section. Mr. Chair, I'd like to focus on the corporate matters that were brought up earlier. Mr. Chair, may we know from the representative of SMNI if Suaraso Media Corporation has at any point in time listed the Securities and Exchange Commission, yung PSEI, Philippine Stock Exchange?
No, Mr. Chair.
Never, Mr. Chair. So when it comes to the dispersion, yung Section 11 po natin, they've never explored the possibility of listing on the stock exchange for dispersal ownership.
We opted the other mode, Mr. Chair, under the second sentence. Other method of encouraging public participation, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I just want to, parang maintindihan po natin, no, the way that the lawyers of SMNI choose to interpret the law. Because on one hand, dahil walang timetable, they will claim because it's not stated in the law, therefore there's no way to interpret it. On the other hand, kung saan walang co-op nakalagay sa batas, they will now interpret by looking at other franchises. Tama po ba, Mr. Chair? Is that the way you interpret the law?
Not necessarily, Mr. Chair.
But in this instance, that is
That's
the
why
way.
we are writing a letter to the SEC.
Mr. Chair, most respectfully, the letter is done. It already said that we have complied with Section 11 by doing the following. So there's no, is there an attempt to even comply with Section 11? Mr. Chair, do you have 30% set aside? As far as I understand, all of your 650 million in ACS is not necessarily paid up, but all of it is subscribed. Saan po natin makukuha yung 30% for the public?
That's why, Mr. Chair, we are more than willing to comply this provision, Mr. Chair. And we are asking this honorable committee to give us specific time, Mr. Chair, to comply this, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, most respectfully, this is already 4 years in the making. And you are only choosing to comply with the co-op, which is not even in your franchise. But Mr. Chair, when it comes to the timetable, which isn't in your franchise, what interpretation do you have? No timetable, no problem.
But it doesn't mean, Mr. Chair, that we are violating this provision, Mr. Chair. We are more than willing to comply these provisions under Section 11, Mr. Chair. That's why we're asking this good committee, Mr. Chair, to give us time to comply. And I'm very honest, Mr. Chair, we're in good faith to comply this provision, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, so you may say that now, but for the past few years, which has not been questioned, there was no follow-up as established prior. Walang follow-up, walang tanong po kung ano nang mangyayari dito sa dispersal natin. There's no question of timetable. Just to lay out the facts po, Mr. Chair.
That's why, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I still have the floor. Mr. Chair, it was mentioned earlier that one, the ACS has been maxed out. Number two, the tone of the letter is not even in question form. It is already finished. It is deemed compliant in their eyes. They have taken it upon themselves to interpret and execute the law. And Mr. Chair, I propose a third way to look into the intent of SMNI. Let's look at their previous franchise, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, is the representative of SMNI aware of the provisions of their previous franchise?
I'm not aware of that, Mr. Chair.
Not aware.
I'm not their lawyer at the time.
Not your lawyer, not the president. Mr. Chair, Section 9, I will read it for you. Democratization of ownership. In compliance with the constitutional mandate to democratize ownership of public utilities, the herein grantee shall make public offering through the stock exchanges of at least 30% of its common stocks within a period of 3 years from the date of effectivity. This act provided that no single person or entity shall be allowed to own more than 5% of stock offerings. In the past 25 years, you have never listed with the stock exchange. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
I have no personal knowledge for that, Mr. Chair.
You just told me earlier that you have never, Suarso has never been listed.
Yes, never, Mr. Chair, but with respect to the details of the information, I cannot answer that, Mr. Chair, because I was not their lawyer at the time.
Mr. Chair, yes or no, is it listed or not? Has it ever been listed or not?
They have, that question was such an opening question, and the lawyer stated that they are not listed.
No personal knowledge. Earlier, he made a mention, now he says no personal knowledge. Mr. Chair, just to be sure, may we ask the SEC, our representative here?
SC,
Yes, Mr. Chair, we confirm, and I read my as earlier.
which is, what do you go to?
We confirm that there's no, they are not listed.
They are not listed, they have never been listed, Mr.
They have
Chair.
never been listed, so.
Never, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. So now we see the dispersal of ownership provision, not only of this franchise, but the previous franchise of 25 years, they did not try to comply. And wala rin co-op na naka-mention dyan, Mr. Chair. Are you going to tell me now that this should be interpreted na pwede rin ang co-op? Did you have a co-op in the last 25 years, Mr. Chair?
Again, Mr. Chair, I was not a lawyer at the time. 25 years for the 25 years. So I cannot answer that, Mr. Chair, in behalf of SMNI.
Mr.
Pero
Chair?
hindi ba, ayun po ay kayo ng abogado na yun, attorney, hindi po dapat na, at least yung party yun, alam niyo, na, kasi lagi kayo nagpapabanggit, history of SMNI. Kanina pa kayo nagpapabanggit yan. Di ba, napakaraan ko, meron pa po dati o wala? O ito yung bago po? Yes or no lang, kasi may GIS naman po eh.
Based on my personal knowledge, Mr. Chair, no, Mr. Chair.
No co-op. Ngayon lang mo nagkaroon ng co-op. Salamat.
Mr. Chair, we cannot subpoena the dead. So the
Okay,
current
subo muna ako,
officers
sakit ng puwet ko eh.
kayo lang naman makakasunod ito. Now, Mr. Chair, I will move on from that
100
point.
plus.
Yun na po, no? We established.
Okay
the
na,
previous
yun na
franchise,
masama.
there was no listing. Failed to
Guys,
upload.
palike and
To be
share
fair to
naman.
you, Mr. Chair, Section 9 did
Kahit
not mention
100
any
likes lang.
But we'll
Parang
go to
awa
that
nyo na.
naman, no? In the next portion. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to question the timeliness, no? We are looking at your GIS. A big question now arises of the structure of SSMC. Mr. Chair, something struck me in the last hearing. I believe it was an interpolation of Pong Suarez. The lawyer of SMNI, we were involved with a certain foreign controversy. Mr. Chair. Allegedly. Allegedly. So you have some knowledge of corporate structure, shell
I'm not an
companies,
expert on
and the
that.
like.
It's not my practice, Mr. Chair.
But you were engaged with them in that field.
No, Mr. Chair.
Corporate. But you're correct. As legal counsel for the corporation, part of it involves with corporate structuring, etc. Do they not seek your advice when they go through these restructuring?
Well, at the time, Mr. Chair, no.
3 years ago, Mr. Chair. So that's at least 3 to 4
There
GIS ago.
are many lawyers, not only me, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may we know to what extent Attorney Tolentino can answer when it comes to corporate restructuring in the history?
I tried my best to answer the best that I can, Mr. Chair.
Napanalakan mo ah.
I'm not aware or have no personal knowledge of your information.
Mr. Chair, we'll just ask the question plainly. For 2019, there is no beneficial ownership declaration because hindi pa ito rin-record ng SEC. Is that correct? Mr. Chair, for September
Guys, palike and share.
you, the GIS of SMC, mentioned Pastor Kibuloy as the beneficial owner.
Yes, Mr.
That's
Chair.
correct, Mr. Chair.
With 7,500
No, it's okay, Mr. Chair. A simple yes or no about the
Jay.
beneficial owner.
Inabot ko ito
Now, Mr. Chair, my question is, what is the basis for citing Pastor Kibuloy as the beneficial owner for that year?
Alam ko ah.
First, he has a share at the time, 7,500 shares. And at that time, he is the executive pastor.
Okay. So we established that he is made beneficial owner by virtue of his executive pastor. I think that's it. Because he 7,500 shares is what percentage from Mr. Chair?
Only 1%.
1%. So I don't think that's the reason for having established him as the beneficial owner. So we must surmise that he is a beneficial owner by virtue of his being executive pastor of KJC. So for April 2021, GIS, it's the same thing, Mr. Chair, and the representative of SNNI confirmed that Pastor Kibuloy was cited as the beneficial owner in the declaration. Mr. Chair, GIS 2021, si Pastor Kibuloy pa rin po ba nasa beneficial ownership declaration?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, no change, no? 95% pa rin yung executive pastor.
Recommend ko.
Araw-araw na ako sa Congress. Ma'am, araw na ako dito.
Hindi na
Ako
no.
na bahala.
Pastor Kibuloy,
0947.
2021, and executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ has 95%.
And he is still the declared beneficial owner.
At this time,
Oh,
at this time.
Mr. Chair, 2022 dito nagkaba, mas bago.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
46% for the Phoebos, 53% for executive pastor. And you already changed the beneficial owner declaration. You now have 6 people.
Ayan ma'am, na-receive ko na.
2023.
2022, Mr. Chair.
Kailangan mo ba to? Parang hindi niya kailangan yan.
Wow. Seven personalities, Mr. Chair.
7 personalities. But Mr. Chair, wasn't it shown earlier by Congresswoman Nabrales that at this time, Phoebus was like 99% executive pastor?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, it's not 7, it's 10 personalities, Mr. Chair.
10 personalities. Okay. Well, in
Can
either
I
case,
mention the name of the personalities?
that's not necessary. Mr. Chair, let me focus now on that year. Phoebus, 46% of SSMC, was 99% owned by Executive Pastor KJC. And Executive Pastor KJC at the time was Pastor Kibuloy, correct?
2022, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Di naman tayo nagbago ng year for this query. Is that correct ba, Mr. Chair? Can you confirm that at the time, the Executive Pastor was Pastor Kibuloy?
Yes, until December of 2022.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So in that case, how come you...
Ano daw yan, ma'am? Viva Max. Sa Viva Max.
Of SSMC. Sa dami-daming pangalan, binanggit ninyo, 10 packs pa na, hindi po siya kasama doon.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
And you say...
Alam mo na bakit hindi po sila kasama? Maybe his answer.
Because there's already the 53.46% is already owned by the executive pastor.
Which is still him.
We're still him, but of course on process, he's already retiring at the time, December of 2022.
Mr. Chair, it doesn't matter for a JS declaration. All that matters is at the time of submission, who is the executive pastor. So why was there a divestment of sorts? It's just highly curious, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, moving on. So later on in that year, that was the time that there was an actual transfer.
Ilang minutes yan, ma'am?
Pastor Acobo. December
Brother
2022. Marlon
Okay na yan.
2022 December.
December 19, 2022.
And in 2023, hindi nagbago. Actually, Mr. Chair, was Mr. Acobo mentioned? Was Pastor Acobo mentioned in the 2023 GIS as a beneficial owner? Out of the 5 people that were there, I think.
2023?
2023.
In 2023, Mr. Chair,
Beneficial owners na lang po, yung last page.
no, Mr. Chair, only the executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ.
No, Mr. Chair, yung beneficial owner. Last page, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
No, Mr. Chair, only Marlon Rosete, Lodivia Ayang, Cristina San Pedro, Loris Nepomuceno, Hannah Jane Sancho, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, why is your executive pastor not mentioned as a beneficial owner? He owns at this point 90+%. Mr. Chair, I'll save him the trouble. The way that SSMC reports the JS is this much. One, iba-iba eh. They're just shuffling cards. Mr. Chair, how are we supposed to exercise our oversight functions in Congress when we cannot even rely on the annual reports they give us? Mr. Chair, I think this on itself might not be a violation. It's already a violation, actually. Section 10, Section 11. But the way by which they conduct themselves in relation to Section 12 calls for a closer investigation. Mr. Chair, I asked earlier if Attorney Tolentino's talents when it comes to corporate restructuring is involved. We take into consideration all the news. We see that the change happened from April 2021. GIS, nandyan pa si Pastor. And in June 2022, wala na po siya. Can the representative of Smni give us a supervening event in between that might have caused that change?
Further information, Mr. Chair, there is a succession in the executive pastor of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ.
Mr. Chair, that's the end of 2021, April, and June 2022.
May I know that question?
Mr. Chair, what supervening event could have possibly caused the restructuring? Anong nangyari sa pagitan ng April 2021 in June 2022 at nagpalit ang corporate ownership ng SMNI?
I believe, Mr. Chair, the best person to answer that is the President, Mr. Chair.
Well, I guess I'd like to ask the President. Because Mr. Chair, something came up in our research sa Balita. It was around this time that the cases abroad against Pastor Tigoloy were filed. It was around this time that the FBI issued a warrant. The question now is it possible that this restructuring was spurred by the prosecution being sought abroad? Actually, around this time also, Mr. Chair, this was also the time that there were takedowns of YouTube, Facebook, I don't know what other accounts. No answer required, it's just rhetorical. It's a lot like your host says, I'm only asking. No.
The best person
Mr. Chair, I'm not
the best person to answer that, Mr. Chair, is the lawyer of Pastor Apollo Kibuloy in US.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Well, I'm not asking naman. Out there in the open.
Hindi po niya, he does not solicit a response.
So, Mr. Chair, as mentioned, we already have Section 4 and 11. Now, I'd like to bring out one more time a topic brought up by Kong Inky on ipso facto report. I think this is something that the committee should really look into because so far, definitely with this resolution, we are looking into possible violations for positive action from the committee in Congress as a whole for the revocation or suspension or whatnot. But a possible legal question that we see here is yung ipso facto revoke provision. If in fact there is, a finding of fact that there are violations in Section 1011, does this require further action from Congress? Will the courts intervene? Or is it, as Attorney Rolex said, by that very fact? By the franchise?
Can I respond to that,
Mr. Chair, I'm not asking.
That's not a question addressed to you.
It's not a question addressed to the resource persons, it's a question addressed to us here as members of this body. So it's something I hope that we can consider very soon because we will be adjourning. So with that, Mr. Chair, I am now wrapping up my interpellation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Gutierrez. If there are no other members that have listed or that would like to ask more questions, I'd just like to confirm and inform everyone that the committee is in receipt of two resolutions. House Resolution number 1425, referred to the Franchise Committee on November 14, resolution directing the appropriate House Committee to conduct an inquiry into the legislation on the contractual relationship between Saraga Integrated Management Corporation of the Philippines and Basco Network Global Consulting Services Corporation in relation to the prohibition under Section 12 of the Republic Act 10974, sponsored by the Honorable Gito. Would you like to say anything, Honorable Gito?
Mr. Chair, for the interest of time, I move to adopt the rest clauses of my resolution as my sponsorship speech.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Gito. And also, a second resolution that we are in receipt of and open for discussion is House Resolution number 1499, introduced by the Honorable Margarita Attorney Mix Nograles. A resolution urging the National Telecommunications Commission to suspend the operations of Swara Submedia Corporation, operating under the name of Sunshine Media Network International, for violating the terms and conditions of the franchise under Republic Act 11422. The Honorable Mix Nograles is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, respected colleagues, and to everyone present, good evening. Good evening na po. Legislative franchise is the privilege granted by the state through its legislative body and is subject to regulation by the state itself by virtue of its police power through its administrative agencies. A legislative franchise of a mass media company is not a right. It is a mere privilege that must be exercised with extreme caution because this industry is imbued with public interest. Unfortunately, it appears that Swara Soap Media, operating under the business name Sunshine Media Network International failed to exercise such caution. We can see under Section 4 and discussions today that there are violations already under RA 11422. And SWARSWAG has the responsibility to the public not to use its stations or facilities for the dissemination of deliberately false information or willful misrepresentation to the detriment of the public interest. As we have heard in today's hearing, there are several instances where SMNI peddled fake news against certain public officials. They themselves are not denying these instances. As representatives of the people, us congressmen have the responsibility to ensure that the people shall be protected from false and malicious information. This is not an attack on the freedom of the press. Rather, we are defending the right of the people to have an accurate and true reporting so that they can formulate honest opinions and thus contribute positively to society. So with that, Mr. Chair, I am introducing this resolution and urge the National Telecommunications Commissions to suspend the operations of SWARSWAG Corporation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 1499.
Suspend.
Discuss this particular bill.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Honorable Chair.
as this committee has been in receipt of this resolution, and given the discussions posted earlier, may I respectfully move to amend perhaps the resolution, if the sponsor would be so minded. Given the discussions earlier, we would like to first and foremost amend the last whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas it is the duty of the National Telecommunications Commission to immediately stop the deliberate dissemination of false information that may generate cynicism and mistrust on matters involving public interest, and to insert thereafter the following whereas clauses. Whereas under Section 10 of RA 11422, the grantee is mandated to seek prior approval of the Congress of the Philippines of any sale, lease, transfer, grant or use of route, assignment of the franchise, or the rights and privileges acquired by the grantee under the franchise, nor any transfer of the controlling interest of the grantee. It was admitted by SMNI that there were changes in the corporate structure of the grantee and that no such prior approval was given by Congress. Whereas, under the same Section 10 of RA 11422, any change of ownership in the shares of stock of the grantee corporation shall be reported to Congress within 60 days from completion of the transfer. The SMNI admitted during the committee hearing on December 5, 2023, that there was no compliance with this provision when shares of stock were transferred to another entity, and this fact was only revealed in the annual report of the SMNI. Whereas, it was also revealed during the same meeting that SMNI has failed and continues to fail to offer to the public at least 30% of its outstanding stock in any securities exchange in the Philippines, or to employ other methods of encouraging public participation by citizens and corporations operating public utilities, despite having the opportunity to do so since the renewal of its franchise, contrary to the express provision of Section 11 of Republic Act Number 11422. Now therefore be it. And of course, as other matters subject to style that the sponsor might accept.
So, since there are no other members that like to speak for or against this measure, I close the period of the bill. And the amendments of the Honorable Gutierrez is put on record and entertained. What does the sponsor have to say to the amendments proposed by the Honorable Gutierrez?
Mr. Chair, considering na nalabas naman po natin yung mga violations which we raised earlier this whole time, and yun naman po yung grounds na nalabas, I accept the amendments to the resolution.
There's a motion to amend by addition by the Honorable Gutierrez, subject to style. Seconded by the Honorable Ako. The chair in objections, amendment is approved.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I also would like to amend, if it's possible, that instead of the word urging, that we directing the NTC. It's part of it.
The Honorable
As explained to me, Mr. Chair, I withdraw the.
There's a motion to withdraw the amendment. So, the amendment proposed by the Honorable Gutierrez, duly seconded and accepted by
Is
the
there a motion?
author, is hereby approved, Kelly. So, for the bill of the Honorable Ginto, I would like to request that the supporting documents on this resolution that you sponsored, please coordinate with the COMSEC and please submit the documents to this case. Thank you very much, Honorable Ginto. So we will now, yes, the Honorable Nograles, the committee, we will have to ask the COMSEC to prepare a final copy of this resolution and to be submitted for the next session.
Mr. Chair, I think we still have to move that the committee will adopt the resolution as amended before we can prepare a committee report, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion to adopt, duly seconded, the chair in objection, the resolution is hereby adopted. So a final copy to be prepared and the committee for the committee report.
Subject to style, the motion is subject to style in the amended resolution.
Thank you very much.
And also for the committee report to be drafted and be presented next hearing and for the approval of the committee, for the committee report on the next hearing, Mr. Chair.
So on the motion of the author, the committee report, I ask the committee, direct the COMSEC to prepare the committee report and the bill with all the amendments proposed by all the Gutierrez, so that this could be approved in the next, discussed and approved in the next hearing. So, the favorite motion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chair.
may I respectfully move that
Mr.
we
Chair, excuse
suspend
me.
the hearing until the next
Excuse me.
hearing period that will be scheduled by the chairman. So move, Mr. Chair.
Your Honor, may I recognize the date now?
Before we adjourn,
May we recognize, we were invited, I'm sorry, Congressman. We were invited to be here. I've been here for 6 hours.
oh, I'm sorry, my apologies. The Honorable Attorney
No, I'm not
Rico.
honorable, I'm Attorney Domingo.
Yeah, Attorney Rico, I'm sorry, my apologies. Attorney
We
Rico
were
Domingo.
required, Your Honor, we were required to submit certain documents in support of our submissions.
Yes.
Unless I'll be cited for contempt, which is the favor of the month this afternoon. And I'm submitting them, Your Honor, and I think the documents are already received officially. So I just want to go on record that we submitted what was required to us.
Okay, so Attorney Rico Domingo, my apologies.
It's okay, it's okay, I know, it's
Thank you
very
very much
interesting.
for the manifestation and for the submission of the documents required from your office. And as what you call yourself, a media?
We are a movement against disinformation. In fact, we were very active in addressing MAD. Kami po yung MAD. Kami po ang MAD. We've been filing cases against the SMNI.
Yes.
The last of which was closer to the home. We are representing Congressman Franz Castro.
Okay, thank you.
We have great threats.
Thank you. Can I ask the Honorable Stella Kimbo, she just has a request.
Yes, Attorney, thank you for
Yes, ma'am.
being with us the whole day, the whole afternoon until 9 o'clock. Sir, since you're here, and I'm sure that you were listening intently regarding the discussion on fake news earlier, would you care to submit a position paper on that? There was a
Definitely, ma'am.
discussion on the absence of a a law with respect to fake news. And
Yes, ma'am.
therefore, a question mark on the illegality of fake news.
So we'll make an extensive, comprehensive study on that, and with the help of the international community, the same advocacy, we plan to submit a position paper along that line in aid of legislation. As I mentioned to the chair last time, we are willing to help the honorable legislators in crafting a legislation that can be proud of in addressing disinformation, fake news, and historical distortionism.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we will wait for that.
Mr. Chair.
Paper. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, just one quick question. Do you have any, attorney, do you have any documentation on fake news from different networks, for example?
Different networks, not all of them, but we have some. We are willing to provide you that.
Do you actually document
Mr. Chairman, point of order, Mr. Chairman.
about my fake news that was given to me?
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Please.
We have a
What is your point of wait, I think we will give Attorney Benny a bandit. We gave the Honorable Kimbo. Let us give Attorney Benny.
Mr. Chair, the point of order is out of order. Meron po ba kayo, attorney, kasama yung documentation ng fake news sa akin?
We have fact checkers.
Okay, I hope that you will submit that to us, Mr. Chair.
We're willing to discuss that with you personally, and we would like to, if you want, we can build a case of that, the case that you have in mind.
Please, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Attorney Domingo. There's a motion about right now. To be seconded. There's a motion by the Honorable Akop to be seconded. The chair hearing objection. This hearing is suspended till the next hearing to be announced by tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, guys, tapos na. Maraming salamat po sa mga nanonood ng live. Thank you.
Guys, tapos na. Maraming salamat. Bukas po, magkita-kita po tayo dito sa Congress of Life. Maglalay tayo. Make sure na subscribe kayo RJ
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Magawa natin ito ng 1,000.